Now we can start our afternoon session. The first presenter, Dr. Kamal D. Vasal from University of Moratuwa. Uh, this session will be chairing Dr. Manoharan Kesan from University of Wayamba. Uh, Thank you. That is in the text. Screen share or something? Yes. Okay. And, that is in the not It's okay. Yes, there's 1%. Need 1%. Mhm. Mhm. Hello, everyone. Uh, Good afternoon. Yeah, you must be the chair, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, actually, I need to be somewhere else at the university quite soon. That's why I requested to do the presentation earlier. Right. So this is a project. Actually, my background is I'm from the my first degree is in the fashion design. Right now, I'm in the product design. My PhD is in the industrial design. So it's like artistic subjects are there, and also in the same time, these technical subjects are there as well. So so I thought like when it comes to in Sri Lanka, right, we have a really good apparel manufacturing industry. So this is like the breadwinner of the country even right now. When we look at the statistics, the recent statistics from the EDB, so that's the portion. So it's like everything is really depending on the apparel industry, right? These are the other sectors, but really minimum. But when it comes to like the export, like the revenue is like nearly 5 billion or 5.5 billion. So that's the amount. It seems like we are doing quite good, but at the same times, when it comes to other countries, other players in the same region, so we are not even within the first 10. So our performance is really poor, and also this is really declining. When it comes to 2005, 2006, we were running really well, but right now we are not in even in the first 10. So when it comes to Bangladesh, so same like Sri Lanka, but they are in the third place, and revenue earning is 34 billion. We are getting only 5.5 billion only. So that is one side. On the other hand, we have other industries, right? So for instance, this wearable technology industry, this is a really multi-billion industry that we are not even getting to that. But right now, in like, for instance, MAS Holdings, Brandings, Hydram, and other players, like especially who are key players in the apparel industry, they have already started to shift into this field, right? So statistically, it is in here. So that is a really good industry. So I thought, so right now we are running fashion design courses. And these are really tailor-made for to create fashion designers. So why can't we go into this wearable technology field? It is possible, right? We have really highly technical universities are there, and also the industry is already started to move in towards that end. I know. So moving to another discipline is quite, quite challenging one because all the factors are there to, cater. Like it's not only about making a garment or making a wearable product, but we need to start from somewhere. So that's why I thought, so in this project, actually, we had one project. This is the body adornment project. We have our degree programs, fashion design degree program. We have one discipline called the fashion design discipline. In this level 2, we have a project called the body adornment. So in that body adornment project, what I did was I was directly converting that into a wearable technology project. But still, we are in the area of body adornment. So this is the project that I did, and this is the level 2 semester 2. So that means this is not the foundation year. So after the foundation year and also another semester, students are selecting their specializations. So there are three specialization at the department: fashion and lifestyle design, product design, and media and communication design. So this is for fashion design students. So the number was like there are 22 students in that discipline, and also I invited 4 industry experts. As I told you, the MS Holdings, Brandix, and other players, they have already moved into this area. They have dedicated teams who are working in the wearable technology industry. So I invited those people as well to do this project. So student actually conducted the project, and this was the difference that I made. So in the normal fashion design course, we have in especially in level 2 and semester 2 means they are specially doing their individual projects. Just simply starting with concept development and the research, then after that design development and design realization. Then after that they are coming up with their collections, and there'll be a runaway or something to show up. In here, I got into step. In this first step, because they are not really into technologies, so they are just conventional fashion design students. So what I did was we introduced this group working step 1. So this is like we did some pilot studies. For instance, small groups working on similar project as a group activity, and in that way they can share their ideas, knowledge, and also they can work with even in the other sites, outsiders, and get to know what is this new project and what are these technical aspects. So they got that training. Then after that, in the second step, they were doing just normal individual projects. So that was the main plan. This is a small difference. And this is the way they conducted. They were working with this Arduino microcontroller programming, working with some sensors, and also that is another example project. So all the students, they came up with really nice wearable technology project, and this is the fashion design studio. And at the end, the methodology was like they were giving feedbacks. So I was collecting feedbacks in the interview format. And this is just one question. That the first question was like, so adding a wearable technology project into their project portfolio, is it really like a valuable for them or not? So definitely they selected 63% 7. So they selected it's a value added for their portfolio. And these were the feedback that I'm just quickly running because I'm getting late a little bit. And these are the feedback that I got. And definitely they were demanding that they need to have some additional technologies like knowledge about hardware, software, CAD computer designing, and also electronics, material, and wearable technology means it's a combination of a lot of aspects. So they really felt that we don't have much knowledge. The required knowledge is not with us. Because of that, our project is not really successful. That's what the students were thinking. And these are direct feedbacks that I got, providing more hands-on training in the electronic and programming, encouraging interdisciplinary collaboration between fashion and technology students in other disciplines as well, incorporating user testing and feedback through the design process, offering resources and support. And because we didn't have a specific laboratories to conduct these kind of electronic projects, and organizing into the industry partnership, guest lectures, and stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies. These are the direct feedbacks that I got from students. At the same time, I got the feedback from industry experts. And what they told me was they reach more than their expected level. So this is enough. These are fashion design students, and what they require is to come up with creative ideas and to actually actualize them. They have enough technical capacities. There are engineers working on them, doctors are working in their teams. It is not really compulsory to have those kind of knowledge within fashion students, within fashion designers, or the team is there. What they are lacking is this innovative approaches, how to mix and match in an innovative way, and they have done it more than enough. That was the feedback. When they told those feedback to the students, they realized that like they have done something quite good. So that was the main feedback. At the same time, when we looked at Sri Lankan industry, we have really good players. For instance, is Atlas. They have they are in the like the leader in the stationery. So that means they have injection molding, they're working on electronics, especially Damro. They have a dedicated brand for electronic products, especially coming from China. They are assembling in some places, but still they have the required level of expertise if you are moving towards this area, like the industry, wearable industry, so that's why, like especially this Magic Bit. It's a startup from our own university. And right now they are exporting their products. It's a microcontroller, same like Arduino, exporting for more than 50 countries right now. So that means the expertise is there, the knowledge is there, and all the required other elements are there as well. What we need is a little bit of policy level decision just to facilitate the industry, just the initial part. So I think that's the end of my presentation. So I just wanted to get some feedback from the audience. What should be the next step? Okay, thank you. I have to like to have some comments.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamal Vasala, for your interesting presentation. Also, your kind of interest to get the feedbacks from the
Yeah, thank you.
audience. So now the session is open for the questions. So I have small one question. In the research, the process mechanism. Could you please
Go back to that slide?
Yeah, please.
This one?
Yeah,
Okay.
so here the concept development and design development. I just wanted to know the difference between concept development and design development.
Yeah.
I think both are mostly
Right. It's especially, so like these are the like normal terminologies that we use in a fashion design project. We do the research part. Then after that, concept means there are in two way we can look into a concept. Someone can come up with really imaginative ideas like living in space, living in Mars, those kind of like thematic concepts are there as well. So that is what they are doing. Is they're coming up with something written, something really imaginative.
So these are the development of concepts, right? Not
Concepts, just concepts, right? And on the other hand, there could be like for instance, this thing about there are concept car design. They're not for manufacturing, just concept level. So we can consider that one as concepts as well. Once we have that kind of a concept, then we start design development. What are the weaknesses? How to make friendly for manufacturing? So those are the design development part. The concept is there. We finalize the concept, then start design development.
So then the design realization
in the fashion area, it's like realization means making the first collection. Those are sketches and everything, concept sign maybe on papers, but in here, this would be really final outcomes. Could be on runaway. Yeah, there are a lot of review processes. Even all of these stages, we have review process and feeding back developments, improvement. Then after that, there's even the realization part. There are again feeding back to the concept stage. If there are issues with the concept, then again feeding back. Yes.
It's really amazing to see even the students are involved in academic things. So our researchers, even we do the research, the action-based, application-based researchers are very rare. So really good to see.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay then, no problem. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. Okay.
And I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a suggestion. Maybe in future you can consider your research, because even actually I'm from the civil engineering construction sector. So since you are much involved in this fashion design, actually, even at our Mind University, we wanted to develop some short programs, especially to addressing some, the construction workers or labor level working categories. Especially, I was interested earlier to develop some awareness programs or something.
Definitely, I can
design, especially
actually one of our dissertation just finished. One student did a project about like in the construction field. They don't really care about wearing gears, safety gears. In country like Sri Lanka, because all the jackets and headgears are not really suitable for Sri Lankan climate. So it's not really wearable. Because of that, they just don't care. So that research was to identify these kind of ergonomic factors. Could be the heat, could be the body size, could be the shapes or the color, like how to make them suitable for Sri Lanka. So the outcome is like when we have really suitable products, people wish to wear it because that's for their own safety. So that was one project. So and also we had some other projects about wearing like clothing for like increase the visibility. Yeah, like safety clothes, increase in the visibility and the same times. So right now we don't have those social recognition for those workers, how to make it through clothing.
Exactly, you mentioned that social recognition.
Yes.
That was the key point.
Yes.
So I wanted to address this. So anyhow,
thank you so much,
thank you so
Ajay.
much, and I
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. You can contact me. Thank you. Maybe the second one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasan. And actually, Miss Pearl, she was hospitalized. So now I call her, she unable to came. So I like to invite Dr. S. Vijayanathan to make the presentation. Good evening, you. I am Dr. Vijayanathan, as a senior lecturer in Advanced Technology Institute, JEFNA. My presentation topic, importance of women employment in Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan economy. The very useful heading or introduction. The woman contribution to the Sri Lankan economy is remarkable as major foreign exchange earning sector comprise the larger proportion of the women get. Sri Lanka's female labor force participation is behind many Asian nations. Presently, the Sri Lanka females labor force, the participation rate is around 35% compared with male participation rate of 75%. However, the female labor force participation in selected Asian countries,
particularly the Singapore, Japan, Thailand, China, and Bangladesh remaining in the range of the around 50% to 65%. Sri Lankan women possess 90.6% of literacy rate, which is above its region peers, and the share of the female student enrollment in university undergraduate level is around 60%. Surprisingly, this remarkable educational achievement of Sri Lankan women is not portrayed in the economic participations, highlighting a significant gap in transforming available human resources, potential productively to generate economic outcome, the measure in gross domestic product and the national wealth. Significance of the study, indeed, Sri Lanka's demographic transition with the rapidly aging the population creates the critical labor crunch in several sectors, whereas promising the development potential of the service sector of the economic equipment, more female skilled labor input. In this given context, the woman economic contribution is essentially vital to keep the wanted economic development in movement. The result of this investigation study map helped to the recognize women's economic support in all time and how they actively the contribute in the economic development of the family and Sri Lankan society. They are the significance, the many significance I have. The percentage of the women employment in Sri Lanka now is labor force wise the 33% in 2022 in participation in the women employment in Sri Lanka. The methodology part, the mixed method using this analysis, this research. The study is centered on literature review of both published and unpublished resources. Key published documents that during the time frame 2009 to 2022, the any important unpublished materials together with seminar and workshop papers to identify the constructions on labor demand touching the labor force, the participation of the woman. The literature review will be started by the brief statistical overview of the nature and structure of female labor force participation in Sri Lanka. Based on the likely restriction identified in the literature, key person interviews will be carried out of employees in the proper private sector to as certain the view of employers on the recognized restriction and experiences in addressing those and other restrictions. Due to the difficulty of the obtaining the access, the employers representative who have been interviewed are those who agreed to participate in the study. It is therefore not a survey of an illustrative the sample of the employees in Sri Lanka. The analysis of the interviews will offer recommendation for policymakers and is intended to provide the basic for a sample survey of employees in the private sector in Sri Lanka later to increasing and validate the findings of this study. Data were inspected according to the groups and finally interpreted the situation. Theoretical perspective, a labor market exit where there is an interchange of labor service between demanders or employees and sellers and workers, and discussion between buyers and sellers determine in part of occupation of workers in job with identify wage, the benefits and condition of employment. The demand for labor is determined by the cost of labor, the productive of the workforce, the current and anticipated level of production, and the price that the firm can command for its product or service. Job changes arise when employers establish the enterprises, expand the operation or replace the employees who leave the enterprise, such as over retirement. The supply of labor, very simply, is the number of people currently working or actively seeking to take up the job changes that are accessible. However, although the labor market is defined in terms of demand and supply, unlike other markets, there are law, norms, or convention which prevent or reduce the applicability of the standard market, the framework to the labor market. The theoretical perspective. The discussion, first one is labor role of women in Sri Lankan history. The woman assistance to labor in the ancient and primitive period in Sri Lanka look different forms, right? The many labor role in women in Sri Lankan history. Women's participation in the industrial sector. The women participation, the very multiple industries in participation in the woman. The internal skill was one of the areas where Sri Lankan women contributed. It can be measured as one of the professions that Sri Lankan women were the engaging. The only problematic that arise here was that in the Raja civilization, there is only very little evidence regarding the participation of the women in raiding activities. Now continues the another women's participation in the industrial sector. Other employment of the woman. According to the Filiar writings of Mihindo and NCA, the women had contribute their labor through the different professions or activities, and certainly it was clear that their labor was valued. Accordingly, in the medieval the period, the women, as if men have engaged themselves in diverse industries and other social services and had received the wealth. The property ownership of women. The woman had the ownership of the property in early society. She was prepared various provide to the economic doings of the society because she amassed wealth by the contributing her labor. So many property ownership of women I have. Then conclusion, the economic contribution of the woman is vital to sustain the economic growth motion in changing socio-economic landscape. A strong cooperative strength of various stakeholders, particularly the government, companies, investors, and the citizens in the critical to create helpful the environment which improve the woman labor force participation, which will not only permit women but also increase family living standard, uplift rural development, and lead to overall economic perspective of the nation. In Sri Lankan society, women in numerous divisions actively participated as workers in the ancient the period than other South Asian women such as the Indian woman. It was very clear that the Sri Lankan family centered the economic process. The woman did found less the service. Therefore, it is stressed that Sri Lankan women were considered as a much respected group. I have many the conclusions. Therefore, I take responsibility that one who researches this field of study may receive the direct access from this article. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yennath,
Okay.
for your interesting presentation, especially highlighting the significance of women's employment. So now the session is open for the questions. So this is an interesting study, especially I also wanted to say that even recent times I'm also involved with the women's empowerment in the engineering sector. So even the research is going on. So what do you think about the women's empowerment in the employment sector of Sri Lanka, especially considering different industry sectors? So how about your perspectives?
The woman employment least cost combination, least cost is a male, it's a wage, increasing the wage. The woman employees least cost combination, what are the empower these developed countries, increasing of the industry in the benefit of profitability and least cost. The optimum product is better than the woman participation in the every industry. Then many development countries, the with join the participation, the women employment, the not wage, the daily wage labor, no, that empower the efficiency, the literacy, 92%, no, Sri Lankan women. That is utilize the women employment in Sri Lanka or industries.
It's good. Even I also noted some points in our research, especially. Now we are developing some kind of new, even this type of things also you can take it in the future stages of your research. Even maybe we are developing some new awareness-based tools to enhance the empowerment of the women, especially in the engineering sector. So even so then
Otherwise,
Some kind of awareness tools, awareness.
otherwise,
framework.
these are the top 10 industries that dominate by the woman. The first is the personal care. The personal care, the workers provide the health and teaching, the beauty parlor, and nutrition and customer service, administrative, the medical, the health information, technology, so participation, the woman.
Especially, we can say one perspective considering the engineering industry, even the women, especially if you take the construction sector, even they wanted to work in the construction sites, even the. So then, their self satisfaction on the job or self motivations are very low level. So those are the main influences of their empowerment.
Other one is our economic sector, the woman supply of the labor increase household incomes, which help the families escape the poverty and increasing their consumption of the goods and services. That a better way in join with the women employment.
Especially we consider the awareness is very low level. The industry sector also do not take the proper actions to address such things. So
Currently the percentage is 33% in participation in Sri Lanka, women employment in the GDP. So.
thank you so much, Dr. Vijayanagan, for your very valuable.
Okay, thank you.
And I invite Nidupul Pereira.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Belum presiden legal. Video ini. Legal. Ini video ini. Itu demo program mana? Presentation. So good afternoon. I'm Chandra Pereira from International Institute of Health Sciences, and I just completed my BSc in Biomedical Science. So my topic is a study on the barriers and challenges affecting the education of transgender youth in the Colombo district, Sri Lanka. So moving to the table of content: introduction, justification, literature review, objectives, methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, and recommendation. So moving to the introduction, in this study, I delve into the critical issue of education among transgender youth in Colombo district, Sri Lanka. Education is the cornerstone of personal and societal development. Yet, transgender individuals face unique challenges and barriers in accessing quality education. In this study, I will explore the significance of education, its transformative power, um, and how it plays a crucial role in empowering individuals to thrive in a democratic society. And moving to the justification and talking about the overview of education status in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka values education as a means of progress. However, the education status of transgender individuals often neglected, leading to limited opportunities for personal growth and development. And talking about the challenges faced by transgender people in education, discrimination, social inclusion, and lack of acceptance pose as significant barriers are transgender individuals seeking education. And talking about the impact of discrimination and rejection of transgender youth, discrimination from society and even their own families profoundly affect the transgender aspirations of transgender youth, leading to decreased access to educational opportunities. And according to my literature review, I found out main three risk factors that global transgender youth are facing and the causes also. The risk factors are lack of education, discrimination, low income, and causes are not acknowledged by some education centers, and also financial problems or poverty, and environmental, social, and familiar characteristics, and involving prostitution and depression. And moving to the objectives, my general objective is to explore the barriers and challenges affecting the education of transgender youth in Colombo district, Sri Lanka, and to promote inclusive and equitable education practices. And specific objectives are to examine the education level of transgender youth and understand the factors influencing their access to education, and also to understand the role of family support in facilitating or hindering transgender youth's pursuit of education, and also to explore the impact of social factors such as peer relationships, and also to investigate the financial and economic factors affecting transgender youth's ability to access and complete education, and also to identify potential health-related barriers and educational interventions needed for the well-being of transgender youth. And moving to the methodology, study design was like a qualitative research done by using one-to-one in-depth interview with the participation of 20 on challenges and barriers affecting education status on transgender population. And the population was between the age group of 18 to 25 young adults. And the inclusion criteria was transgender population in Colombo district, and the exclusion criteria was people below the age of 18 years and above age of 25 years. And the target was 20 individuals, but collection of data was continued until the point of saturation is reached. The data collection was done through one-to-one in-depth interview basis of 10 to 15 open-ended questions, and data was analyzed by thematic analysis. Responses for the transgender population will be analysis of pattern recognition to find out common patterns of them to reach a conclusion. And also it was a mixed method approach. I gave them a form as well to rate their feelings. For an example, in the form, it included how much mark would you like to give for your interest in higher education out of 10, like that. And the results, I managed to group all of my results into themes. So the first theme is family support and acceptance. Initially, families resisted the transgender transformation, but acceptance and support increased over time. Transgender individuals found solace and encouragement from their families to lead a peaceful life. And the second theme is barriers in society. Discrimination, harassment, loneliness, and guilt were major challenges faced during transformation. Transgender youth strive to overcome societal judgment and focus on education and self-improvement. Third theme was emotions and self-esteem. Emotional journey were common among transgender youth, leading to increased self-esteem, positive thinking, and determination drove them to excel academically and contribute to society. And the fourth theme was personal challenges. Gender identity struggle to lead to shyness and withdraw from society. Teasing and ridicule at school discourage transgender students from continuing their education. And the final theme was financial support. Limited financial support impeded transgender youth from pursuing higher education. Despite obstacles, many transgender individuals worked hard to fund their education. So moving to the conclusion, this research underscores the pivotal role of family acceptance in facilitating transgender individuals' journey towards a more peaceful life. Despite societal barriers such as discrimination and financial limitation, transgender youth display resilience, focusing on education and personal development. Emotional struggles transform into increased self-esteem, driving academically excellence. And also the study highlights the need for continuing support to create an inclusive education system that empowers transgender youth to contribute meaningfully to society. In summary, fostering family acceptance and dismantling societal barriers are crucial for enhancing the education and well-being of transgender youth. And also moving to the recommendation, we can make new policies and protection and procedures also. And we can make a new school curriculum aware about the sexual orientation. And we can make student education and training programs about personality development. And also we can train our employees and give them awareness program about how to respect others and as well as sexual orientation. So these are my references. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also I have a video as well. So I'm requesting the youth display.
Try with DMC.
You might feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you might also face a lot of discrimination. When you reach adolescence, or maybe even if you are born as a male or a female, when you reach adolescence, or maybe even later in life, you will feel like you're transforming into the opposite gender. This is completely normal for some people. You might feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you might also face a lot of discrimination from our society. You will have a lot of doubts about you and your personality. So, do you think you can overcome all that you face? So, research focusing on the transgender community in Sri Lanka. I feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born with, but my health feels a lot of discrimination. Or maybe. So, if you were a transgender individual, do you think that you'll be able to get the same amount of education that you're getting right now? Do you think that being transgender would be gender? This is completely normal for some people. You might feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you might also face a lot of discrimination from our society. You will have a lot of doubts about you and your personality. So, do you face so research focusing on the transgender education? So, let's start the interview now. She's our first participant. So, can you tell me about your I feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you might also face a lot of So, if you were a transgender individual, do you think that you'll be able to get the same amount of education that you're getting right now? Do you think that being transgender would be gender? This is completely normal for some people. You might feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you could face a lot of discrimination from our society. You don't have a lot of doubts about this. Even if you are born as a male or a female, when you reach adolescence, or maybe even later in life, you will feel like you're transforming into the opposite gender. This is completely normal for some people. Might feel like you don't belong to the gender you are born as, but you might also face a lot of discrimination from our society. You will have a lot of doubts about you and your personality. So, transgender individual, do you think that you'll be able to get the same amount of education that you're getting right now? Do you think that being transgender would affect your education? So let's start our interview now. She's our first participant. So can you tell me about your myself? Yeah. Currently working how Did you do any course in private sector government services?
I posted from Colombia. I completed my graduation and postgraduate. So then, you wish me there also the same.
In your day, about education, what's your opinion about
Yeah, always try to go forward, but society always push them. I think sometimes
what is the support from your family, friends, and your relationship?
my opinion, nobody will support you. You have to make sure people will support you. My opinion.
Because we have to carry on. Yeah, she's going to come down with all the next with it.
සමාජය තුළ තමන්ට අයිතිවාසිකම් ලබා ගන්න හෝ තමන්ට ස්ථානය ලබා ගන්න අධ්‍යාපනය කියන උපාය. එක. පොදුයි ගත්තහම හැම ළමයෙක්ටම දෙන්න තියෙන දේ තමයි තමන් මේ ලෝකෙ තියෙන අනිසි ආරම්භයක් වෙනස්පත් වෙලා නැගලා යනවා. ඉතින් ඉගෙන ගන්න කාලේ තුල ඉගෙන ගන්න දේවල් රටට ප්‍රයෝජනීයවත් කරා. ඉගෙන තමන් ඉගෙන ගත්තා විභාග පාස් වුණා ඩිග්‍රී ගෙවුවා පවුලක් පන්සලක් වුණා නැතිලා ඒක නෙමෙයි ජීවිතය. ඒක තමයි අධ්‍යාපනය කරන්නේ. සා අධ්‍යාපනය කියන දේ පොතට බව සීමා මේක වැඩි මානසික සම්බන්ධතාවයක්. එනිසාද කරුකරන එක ගැන එතකොට මිනිස් වටිනාකම ගැන ඒක ඇතුළත් වෙන්නේ. ඒක තමයි මම පරිපූර්ණ අධ්‍යාපනය. ඉතින් පොතට පక్కන සීමා වෙන්න එපා. මනුෂ්‍ය ධර්මයක් ඉගෙන ගන්න. මිනිස්සුන්ට කම් කරන්නේ කොහොමද? මිනිස්සුන්ට වටිනාකමක් දෙන්න සහයෝගයෙන් ජීවත් වෙන්න ඒ දේවල් ඉගෙන ගන්න.
අද සමාජයකට තේරුමට කියන්නේ අපි හැමෝම ගත්තොත් ඒ තමයි වඩා වෙනස් වුණා වාර්තා තියෙන විදිහ නෙවෙයි මොනවද වුනේ තමයි. ඒ අපි අය ඇඟිලි කලකුණ තියන්නේ. මොනවද වෙන කෙනෙක් ඇඟිලි වෙනස්. ඒකට එච්චර වෙනස්කම් තියෙන මේ මිනිස්සු අතරේ ඒක තේරුම් ගන්න.
Thank you so much, Pereira, very how this is. So, can you please show your presentation slide? Objectives. So, the objectives, especially, of course, since the undergrad, even if I have maybe focused on some determination of factors and some elements, right? So, and just a general suggestion, even some specific objectives you mentioned that understanding the role is something, right? And the other thing, so investigating the financial things or the problematic factors, right? So, especially how do you measure the understanding the role of family support?
Yeah, actually, this was like we gave them a form. It included like they can rate their feelings. Like uh, how do what's your interest about the education? Can you rate it
So I
out?
understand that. Yeah, sorry. But whenever you go for some further presentation or publication, just avoid understanding the
Okay,
objectives.
sure.
Instead, you can do some further better action work.
Mm.
Because understanding is not a proper action work that can be measurable.
Ah.
Just a suggestion. Also, the investigation to investigate the financial factors, right? Finance. So that also you can go for better action work. Especially you must know that the research objectives are the main foundations, right?
In
For
the
the
research,
research
yeah.
and based on the objectives, yeah. So then you must be very keen on the
Objectives.
direction in terms of the objectives. So please improve it if possible.
Thank you very much.
So and the other thing, you have how many interviews you conducted? I think in total.
Total, not, yeah, 20, but we recorded only 5 or 6.
Fine. So then, based on these findings, so what will be the next step from your search team?
Yeah, actually, we can, mentioned in the recommendation, like we can suggest like new ways to like they are like struggling to get their new identity card and all. So we can make new like we can suggest to make new policies, new procedures like that.
So that's good. Even really rare to see these type of researchers in the society, right? So you have that really for the society. Also, can you go to the recommendations, right? Yeah, especially you mentioned that we need some further some training programs,
Yeah,
awareness.
when-
Are there any specific training institutions specifically supporting them?
No. Actually, they like some of the transgenders, they are just stop their higher education after completed their secondary because of some financial problems and their family is not supporting to them. So that's why they stop their higher education and
So you can address this issue even especially we need to go for some action based things in
Yeah.
future. So may I know where are you working? Are you working?
Uh, actually, I just completed my BSc in biomedical science. Actually, now I'm working at IHS as a healthcare professional.
So this research was conducted as a team, right?
No, this was like they just helped me to make the video and all.
I think I suggest you to continue in this
Yeah, sure.
to master level and further mainly focusing on some action-based things.
Sure.
You can integrate some new awareness programs
Programs.
and some kind of maybe you can market some training
Yeah.
institutions. So if you need, I will get your contact.
Sure.
number later.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nilubul Pereira. So we have next presentation, DDL Villarachi from General Sir John Kotala Defense University. Lakshani?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right, okay, let me share my screen with you. Right. I hope you can see the slides now.
Yes, you can start.
Right. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me online. So my topic today is curatorial footprint in digital archives of life. So I'm going to be sharing the results of my study, where I analyzed selected narratives from Sri Lankan women survivors of war that were archived in projects I Am and Her Stories. Right. So the concept of life writing and archiving is not new to Sri Lanka, but after the 30-year war, digital archiving of life narratives of particularly women from war-affected areas became prominent. And created in a post-war context, I Am by Kannan Arunasalam and Her Stories by Radhika Hettiarachchi are two important digital repositories because they present the unheard narratives from a marginalized group of people. So let me first introduce briefly the concept of the archive. Traditionally, an archive is defined as a place in which public records or historical materials are preserved, and it is a political site where the materials archived and the act of archiving are influenced by power politics. So Jacques Derrida, for instance, has stated that archiving is an act of power as well as responsibility. And Michel Foucault claims that an archive is a collection of statements which enables their formation and transformation. Therefore, the archive is also a politicized space where statements are constantly subjected to politics of inclusion and omission, remembrance and obliteration, and interaction and contestation. So my research understands the archive as a phenomenon that is constantly engaged in a process of meaning making. And since they are digital narratives, the concept becomes even more complex. So physical, tangible archives are not easily accessible to a global audience, but digital archives can transcend geographical and time-related barriers. The selected archives for the study exist in the digital sphere, and they preserve narratives extracted at a crucial period in Sri Lankan history. In the post-war Sri Lanka, the prominent stories were hero narratives that aligned mostly with the male-centric narratives influenced by the dominant political ideologies. And the life narratives or life stories of individuals, especially women's narratives from the war-torn areas, seem to get sidelined. Both Arunasalam and Hettiarachchi emphasize the significance of recording the narratives of ordinary people to make documenting Sri Lanka's conflict history more holistic. So therefore, these two archives are invaluable as they have captured something that cannot be captured in the same way ever again. However, in a life writing perspective, the content in the life narratives and the way they are constructed and presented need to be further explored. Because most of the female narrators did not have digital literacy or expertise in archival practices, the mediation of the curators was quite heavy in both the projects. So my research critically examines the preservation of ordinary lives via digital archiving, with particular focus on the interactions of agency and mediation vis-a-vis the archived narratives. And the research questions that guide the study are, how have the curators influenced the manner and matter of the archived life narratives, and how agentive have the women narrators been in narrating and curating their own life narratives? If I ask you, when was the last time you shared an anecdote or experience from your life? You may say that you posted something on Facebook, created a reel on Instagram, or simply put up a WhatsApp status. Well, some of you may even have, even maintain blogs sharing your life and times. What I'm trying to say is, with the advent of Web 2.0 and other technological advancements, the digital sphere became a more inclusive space. And in a life writing perspective, this is very important because it facilitated construction, narration, and sharing of individual personal stories. Often, these personal stories gain the power to become part of the public narratives or emerge as alternative narratives to the dominant stories simply by existing in the digital sphere where people can see and access them. In the past, this was the job of autobiographies, biographies, or memoirs, but now we engage in forms of life writing almost every day, mostly informally though. However, digital archives of life narratives are a more formal way of preserving the lived experiences of people, and often these repositories are curated by an expert. Hans Obrist states that a curator's role transcends simply displaying objects as they bring together different cultural spheres into contact. Evidently, the curator acts as a mediator between narratives, art, objects, or ideas. And commenting on how curators become agentive bodies, Karen Gaskell states that curating is, I quote, responsible for conjuring both a synergy and a dynamic that operates across a multitude of levels, and that it shifts the way in which we see and receive artwork, end quote. Therefore, curatorial footprint refers to the agency, authority, and the presence of the curator in the works constructed and displayed. Right, so now let's see how this applies to the selected narratives. The primary data for my study, as I told earlier, were selected from I Am and Her Stories. All the stories in Her Stories are specifically from women affected by war, but Project I Am has, like a lot of narratives from Sri Lankan elders from all walks of life. So for purposes of this study, I extracted only narratives from females with exposure to war and violence. Since this is a qualitative study, the narratives were subjected to a textual analysis based on a close reading, and the theoretical framework consisted of life writing theories, particularly agency and mediation in life narration, and curatorial footprint. So the curator of Project I Am, Kannan Arunasalam, states that he started the project in order to explore his own links with the country, his ethnic identity, and self as a diasporic Sri Lankan-born British filmmaker. But what I focus on here is how the narratives have been constructed by him. So he explains that there were around 80 people who were introduced to him, but he chose only 60 people out of them. And I'm going to quote a couple of lines from an interview with him. You can read it on the screen as well. He says, "The main selection criterion for me was, were they good storytellers, which was very much unlike in research projects where there were set selection criteria and selecting samples, etc. So this is a fine example of an archive where a single person, the curator, has had the authority of making the crucial decisions, and the agency of the individual narrators tend to be curtailed from the beginning. When examining the implications of this statement, it is clear that the narrators were selected to fit an already existing model in the curator's mind, that is, a good storyteller. So we should note that in addition to the selection process, the narrators were given a particular framework for narration by the curator. So what has happened is the curator has more or less shepherded the narratives. So my argument here is that the project has not evolved solely from the narrators and narratives, though the curator claims them to be like authentic narratives and all that. So this problematizes the control held by the narrators over their life narratives and provokes the question whether the very aim of the creating a repository of Sri Lankan life narratives has become compromised. And I question these things in particular, like, does the audience hear what the narrator wants them to hear? Or do they hear what the curator wants them to hear? According to scholars like Kathleen MacLean, I quote here, successful conversations require reciprocity and a mutual respect among participants, as well as mutual interest and a balance of contributions. This balance is difficult to establish when the authority of the expert is predominant. So, while the narrators have had some kind of power or agency over which memories they wanted to share, or how they wanted to position themselves in the narrative, we can see that it's like overall decision making has been done by the curator, because it is primarily the curator who has chosen what and who is important enough to be included in the final product. So this affects the balance highlighted by theorists such as MacLean. The analysis actually reveals the power politics behind the concept of agency, where agency in life narration is conceptualized at the surface level as belonging to the women narrators, but at a deeper level, it is manipulated by the curator. This actually exemplifies how the concept of agency is also split and fractured, where there are parallel narrative frameworks where the act of life narration is done by the narrators, while the curator guides and shapes the construction of the same narratives. Right. Her Stories, on the other hand, has employed a different strategy, focusing on thematic and gender-based criteria in terms of selection and exclusion of narratives. But Radhika Hettiarachchi has accepted narratives of all women who volunteered for the project and given, but she has also given 5 predetermined forms like letters, trees of life, timelines, photo essays, and videos within which the narrators were free to narrate. As you can see on the screen, she wanted them to have a sense of self-actualization. But Hettiarachchi's notion of self-actualization can also be critiqued, because in a project outlined by the curator, where the frameworks for narration are predetermined, how much agency do the women narrators actually have? But they seem to have a certain amount of agency, because, for instance, in letters, I have given here an excerpt from a letter. Women were encouraged to write these letters in their personal spaces or homes at their own pace. Hettiarachchi's rationale for the idea was that women can express themselves freely in their own homes or spaces. So the narrators may have had time to think, recall, select, edit, reconstruct, delete, and choose the best versions to be shared with the project. And since they could write within and beyond the framework given, it's clear that, the framework has not been rigid. Since these women narrators also knew that these are going to be displayed on public platforms, they may have even applied self-censorship when it comes to certain sensitive details, etc. However, the notion of agency here can be further critiqued, because, as you can see, some letters are not very detailed. The letter I have given here is like a factual reporting of events, and seems like the writer was restrained. Some of the possible constraints for this could be their lack of skills in articulation and writing, self-censoring, and lack of personal space, and it could also be others' gaze and intervention. So for an instance, if you look at this picture, this is the interior of a hut, a temporary a place of residence occupied this woman and others. So in such spaces, can a woman really have personal space? She would be seen by others, so she might not be free to express. Some women living in Ranaviru villages or other homes, their own homes, may have been able to find personal space, but this kind of setting, I'm not sure how it could have happened. So in situations like this, women may have applied self-censorship to avoid any adverse outcomes. Right. So, in conclusion, it is evident that digital archiving further complicates the notion of agency. The curators, being the ones with the technical knowledge and access to the digital sphere, exercise power over the life narratives in deciding which content is archived and how. So, what happens is when we weave the overall project, we can see that they are not merely curated archives, but in a way, they are works of art too. And from the designing of the websites to the display of the narratives, the artistic involvement, and the active agency, the curator's presence is felt. So, editing and mediation have been tools that Hettiarachchi and Arunachalam have used, and they have left a strong curatorial footprint bordering on artistry. However, the tendency to overpower the voices of the women narrators is a concern that cannot be overlooked in a life writing trajectory. Because both projects have stated outright that their aim is to archive the unheard life narratives or life stories of Sri Lankan women survivors of war. But excessive mediation, especially in videos, photo essays, and photo montages, has affected the overall authenticity and the agency of the female narrators. So this curatorial footprint can become problematic in certain instances. If the women narrators do not get control over the manner and matter of life narration in a space dedicated to them, mediation could cause more harm than good. So my final point is that in terms of agency in life narration, mediation becomes a double-edged tool. So whoever who creates these narratives archives need to be more aware of the notion of agency and how it could work. And these are my references. Thank you. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So thank you, Lakshani Villarachchi, for your interesting presentation. Especially, you made a very comprehensive work that we can understand. So now the session is open for the questions. Right. So I have only one question. So I just wanted to know the future stage of this study. What about, are there any action-based things that you focus currently?
Not really, sir. I was not planning to do any action-based research on this, but as a next step, I'm planning on looking at how the audience responds to these. Now, this is just a textual analysis, so I want to get a set of people who are interested. I want them to comment on what they see and see like it from the other side. Like this is from the curator's angle, how the audience receives it. So that's like the next step.
So even so as similar to the previous presentation, right? I also to suggest you as well. Even you can also focus on some action-based things in future. Even especially developing some awareness tools or some kind of training sessions, right? Training programs. So those are the lacking areas in the society, in our society. So then, so that's good. And are there any questions? Right. Okay, so thank you so much.
So much for your input.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. So now the next presenter is Ifat Neeta, right? So you can start your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. Could you hear me? Okay. Thank you so much for giving the permission to do my presentation in Tamil language.
You can do the presentation, Neeta.
Yeah. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can do it. Continue.
Okay. Okay. சமகால கலை சூழல்ல லக்கிசேன நாயக்கனுடைய தனித்துவமான கலை அணுகுமுறைகள் பற்றிய ஒரு ஆய்வாகத்தான் என்னுடைய ஆய்வு வந்து காணப்படுகின்றது. அந்த வகையில பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு கோட்டை வந்து நான் காட்ட விரும்புகிறேன். இன்றைய கலையை நாளைய பார்வையாளர்களுக்காக நாம் பாதுகாக்கவில்லை என்றால் அவர்களின் அறிவும் நமது கலாச்சாரம் பற்றிய அனுபவம் துரதிர்ஷ்டவசமாக வறுமையில் வாடிவிடும். இந்த அடிப்படையில இதன் தொடர்ச்சியாக பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் கலை வரலாற்றை பொறுத்த வகையில பாரம்பரிய கலையிலிருந்து பாரம்பரிய கலை நடைமுறையிலிருந்து சமகாலம் வரை உள்ளடக்க ரீதியாகவும் உருவ ரீதியாகவும் ஊடக ரீதியாகவும் வந்து பல்வேறு மாற்றங்களுக்கு உட்பட்டு வந்திருக்குது. அந்த அடிப்படையில சிற்பத்தினுடைய பயில்வும் வந்து உள்ளடக்க ரீதியாகவும் உருவ ரீதியாகவும் பல மாற்றங்களுக்கு உட்பட்டு வந்திருக்கிறத வந்து காணக்கூடியதாக இருக்குது. அதே நேரம் இன்றைய சமகால சூழல்ல வெவ்வேறு கலை அணுகுமுறைகள் வெவ்வேறு கலை பாணிகள் காணப்படுவது மட்டும் இல்லாம அது ஒரு வகையில ஒரு கலைச்சூழலை ஒரு விவரிக்கிறதாகவும் பல்வேறு சாத்தியப்பாடுகளை கொடுக்கறதாகவும் வந்து காணப்படுது. உதாரணமாக பார்க்கலாம், சமகால கலை சூழல்ல என்ன மாதிரியான கலை பயில்வுகள் வந்து காணப்படுகிறதுன்னு சொன்னால் இன்ஸ்டாலேஷன் ஆர்ட், மினிமலிசம், கன்செப்சுவல் ஆர்ட், டீப் மெட்டீரியலைசேஷன் என்று இவ்வாறான பல கலை பயில்வுகள் வந்து காணப்படுது. அந்த அடிப்படையில இலங்கையினுடைய கட்டட கலைஞரும் கலைஞருமான லக்கி சேனநாயக்கனுடைய சிற்பங்கள் வந்து எவ்வாறு ஒரு தனித்துவமான அணுகுமுறையை வந்து கொண்டுள்ளது. குறிப்பாக பார்த்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னா இயற்கையோட அண்டிய அவருடைய சிற்ப நடைமுறைகள் வந்து எவ்வாறு அவருக்கான ஒரு தனித்துவத்தை வந்து அடையாளப்படுத்துதுன்னு சொல்லி அந்த அடிப்படையில இந்த ஆய்வுக்கான கேள்வியாக பார்த்தோம்னா ஒரு கலைஞராக இருந்து கொண்டும் அதே நேரம் ஓவியம் இந்த மாதிரியான ஒவ்வொரு பயில்வுகளை வந்து அவருடைய இந்த சிற்ப நடைமுறை வந்து எப்படி ஒரு பல்வேறு அணுகுமுறைகளை வந்து கொண்டிருக்குதுன்றதையும் அதே நேரம் எவ்வாறு ஒரு ஒரு கலையினுடைய ஒரு முன்னோக்கு வந்து எவ்வாறு ஒரு கலை சூழல்ல எதிர்கால அறிவையும் புரிதலையும் வடிவமைக்கிறதுல பங்களிப்பு செய்தன்றதையும் கேள்வியாக கொண்டிருக்குது. அதே நேரம் பார்க்கலாம், ஆய்வினுடைய நோக்கமாக பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் அவரை கலை பயில்வுகளை பார்க்கறது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் அவருடைய அதை ஒரு சூழமைவு ஆக்குறதும் ஒரு சமகால சூழல்ல சூழமைப்படுத்தலும் அதே நேரம் அவருடைய சிற்பம் தொடர்பான ஒரு புரிதலையும் அவருடைய தனித்துவமான அணுகுமுறையும் வந்து ஆராய்றதும் புரிந்து கொள்றதையும் வந்து நோக்கமாக கொண்டிருக்குது. இந்த அடிப்படையில இங்க வந்து 2 விதமான முறையில வந்து அணுகிறேன். ஒன்று வந்து ஃபார்மலிசம், அடுத்து வந்து ஐக்கனோகிராஃபி. ஃபார்மலிசம் பொறுத்த வகையில பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் ஒரு கண்டென்ட், அதாவது உள்ளடக்கத்துக்கு அப்பால அவருடைய அந்த கலை வெளிப்பாட்டினுடைய வர்ணம், கோடுகள், அதனுடைய இலைமங்கள் வந்து எப்படி இருக்கு, எவ்வாறு ஒழுங்கமைக்கப்பட்டிருக்குது, அது எப்படி ஒரு வகையான ஒரு அழகியலை கட்டமைக்குதுன்றதை பார்க்கறதாக இருக்கு. அதை வந்து ஒரு வகையில லக்கி சேனநாயக்கனுடைய சிற்பங்கள்ல வந்து பொருத்தி பார்க்கிறேன். அதே போல பார்க்கலாம் விக்கிரகவியல், உருவவியல், ஒரு வகையில என்னது இயற்கை, ஒரு கலைஞனுடைய அனுபவம், அவனுடைய ஆத்மீகம், இந்த மாதிரியான விடயங்கள் வந்து எப்படி அவனுடைய கலையில தொழிற்படுது, அது கலையில வந்து எப்படி அது ஒரு வகையில ஒரு மீனிங்கை உருவாக்குது, இந்த மாதிரியான உருவாக்குதுன்றதை பார்க்கறதாக வந்து இந்த மிதவளர்ச்சி வந்து காணப்படுது. இந்த ஆய்வுக்கான தரவுகளை பார்த்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னா கூடுதலாக 2ஆம் நிலை தரவுகள் தான் வந்து சேகரிக்கப்பட்டிருக்குது. முதலாம் நிலை தரவுகள் என்றதுக்கு அப்பால 2ஆம் நிலை தரவுகள் தான் வந்து சேகரிக்கப்பட்டிருக்குது. குறிப்பாக ஆர்டிஸ்டினுடைய ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட், அவருடைய இன்டர்வியூஸ், அது யூடியூப்ல அவருடைய இன்டர்வியூ எழுத்துக்கள் சம்பந்தப்பட்டது. அதே நேரம் வெப்சைட்ல அவருக்குரிய தனித்துவமான வெப்சைட்ல அவருடைய போர்ட்ஃபோலியோ, என்ன மாதிரி அவர் டிராயிங் செய்திருக்கிறார், என்ன மாதிரி ஸ்கல்ப்சர், என்ன மாதிரியான கட்டடங்களை வந்து மேற்கொண்டிருக்காருன்னு சம்பந்தப்பட்ட அந்த வெப்சைட்களை பார்த்துருக்கிறேன். அதே நேரம் பார்க்கலாம் ஆர்ட் ஜேர்னல்ஸில் மேகசீனில் இவரை பற்றி இவருடைய நண்பர்கள் அல்லது ஏனைய ஆய்வாளர்கள் சொன்ன இன்டர்வியூக்கள், அவருடைய கருத்துக்கள், இந்த மாதிரியான விஷயங்களை வந்து ஆய்வுக்கான தரவுகளாக வந்து எடுத்திருக்கிறேன். அந்த அடிப்படையில் அந்த அவருடைய சிற்பம் தொடர்பான டிஸ்கஷனுக்கு போறதுக்கு முன்னால அவருடைய கலை பயில்வு என்னவாக இருந்திருக்குது, அணுகுமுறை என்னவாக இருந்திருக்குன்றதை பார்க்கறதாக இந்த பகுதி வந்து காணப்படுது. அதுல பார்க்கலாம், இவர் வந்து வெறுமனே ஒரு கட்டடங்களையும் சிற்பத்தையும் மேற்கொள்ளாமல் அவர் வந்து பெயிண்டிங் செய்திருக்கிறார், டிராயிங், கட்டடத்தோடு சேர்ந்து இன்ஸ்டாலேஷன் ஒர்க்குகள், ஒரு கார்டனிங், சில்க் ஸ்கிரீன் பிரிண்டிங், பேட்டிக், டிஜிட்டல் ஆர்ட்னு சொல்லி பல்வேறு கலை பயில்வுகள், கலை ஊடகங்களை வந்து இவர் கையாண்டிருக்கிறார். அதே நேரம் பார்க்கலாம், இந்த கலை ஊடகங்கள்ல பயன்படுத்தி செய்யப்பட்ட அந்த கலை படைப்புகளுடைய உள்ளடக்கமாக பார்த்தோம்னா ஹியூமன் ஃபார்ம்ஸ் வருது. அது ஒவ்வொரு நிலைகளுடைய மனித உடல்கள், ஒரு எரோட்டிக்கான உருவங்களை வந்து கொண்டு வராரு. அதே நேரம் விலங்குகள், பறவைகளினுடைய உருவங்கள். இவருடைய அநேகமான கலைப்படைப்புகளை பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் விலங்குகளுடைய பறவைகளுடைய உருவத்தினுடைய ஆதிக்கம் வந்து கூடுதலாக வந்து காணப்படுது. அதே போல பார்க்கலாம், இவர் வந்து மிக முக்கியமான கட்டட கலைஞர்களான ஜெஃப்ரி பாவா, பாப்ரா சன்சானி, ஈனாடி சில்வா, இந்த மாதிரியான முக்கியமான கட்டட கலைஞர்களோட வந்து கொலாபரேட்டிவாக வந்து ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாரு. அதே நேரம் இவருக்கு இருந்த அந்த இயற்கை மீதான ஆர்வம், இவருடைய ஸ்கெட்ச், இதெல்லாம் ஒரு வகையில் அவருக்கு இலங்கையினுடைய நாணயத்தால வந்து வடிவமைக்கிறதுக்கான வாய்ப்பினை வந்து உருவாக்குது. இதுல நீங்க பார்க்கலாம் எப்படி இலங்கைக்கு உரித்தான தாவரங்கள், விலங்குகளை கொண்டு அவர் வந்து காசை வந்து டிசைன் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாருண்டு. அதோட இணைஞ்சதாக வந்து அவருடைய இந்த டிராயிங்ஸை வந்து பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் எப்படி ஒரு காலத்துவவாதிகளுடைய வருகையோட இலங்கையினுடைய ஒரு நில உருவ, ஒரு பொட்டானிக்கல், ஒரு பொட்டானிஸ்ட் வந்து எப்படி வரைந்திருப்பாரோ அதே மாதிரி ஒரு நுணுக்கமா வந்து வரைந்திருக்கிறார். இது ஒரு வகையில அவருடைய அந்த இயற்கை மீதான ஒரு ஆழமான பார்வை வந்து தாரது மட்டும் இல்லாம எப்படி காலத்துவத்துக்கு பின்னரான இலங்கையினுடைய நில உருவ வந்து இவருடைய இந்த டிராயிங்ஸ் வந்து பிரதிநிதித்துவப்படுத்துறதை பார்க்கக்கூடியதாக இருக்குது. அதே மாதிரி பார்க்கலாம் சிற்பம். இதுல அவருடைய 2 விதமான சிற்பத்தை காட்டியிருக்கு. ஒன்று வந்து பறவையோட சார்ந்தது, இன்னொன்று வந்து மித்தாலஜிகளோட சம்பந்தப்பட்ட ஒரு சிற்பம். இவருடைய இந்த சிற்ப நுணுக்கங்கள் வந்து ஒரு வகையில ஒரு ரியலிசம்ன்றதுக்கு அப்பால ஒரு அருவத்தனத்தை வந்து, அதாவது அப்டிராக்டை வந்து அடையாளப்படுத்துறதாக இருக்குது. அதே நேரம் இவருடைய அந்த சமகால பகுதியில தொழிற்பட்ட ஏனைய கலைஞர்களுடைய ஒர்க்கோட ஒப்பிட்டு பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் உதாரணமாக வந்து கருணாரத்ன, அவங்களோட இந்த அமர்ந்த நிலையில தியானம் செய்யற மாதிரியான ஒரு மனித உடலை வந்து இந்த மாதிரியான அலுமினியம் ஒவ்வொரு ஊடகங்களுக்குள்ளால வந்து வெளிப்படுத்தியிருக்கிறார். ஆனா இவரோட ஒர்க்கை பார்த்தோம்னா இவருடையும் வந்து ஒரு வகையில மெட்டல் ஒர்க்ஸா இருந்தாலும் கொஞ்சம் அந்த டீட்டெயில்ஸாக வந்து ஒரு 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 பழங்குடித்தன்மையை வெளிப்படுத்துறதாக வந்து காணப்படுது. அதே நேரம் பார்க்கலாம், இவருடைய கலை பயணத்துல ஆக முக்கியமா இப்பவும் கொண்டாடப்படுற ஒரு இடமாக பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னா தியாபுல, அதாவது வாட்டர் கார்டன், தண்ணீர் பூங்கான்னு சொல்லி பார்க்கலாம். இவர் வந்து இந்த இடத்தை உருவாக்குறதுக்கு வந்து நிறைய காலம் அந்த நிலத்தை வாங்கி போட்டு இலங்கையில் இருக்கிற ஒரு பாரம்பரியமான மரங்கள், தாவரங்கள் என்ன, இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாத்தையும் வந்து ஸ்டடி பண்ணி அதை ஸ்கெட்ச் பண்ணி அவர் வந்து அவருடைய வாழ்விடத்தை வந்து உருவாக்கி இருக்கிறார். ஆகவே இந்த வாழ்விடத்தை உருவாக்கினதுல அவருடைய முக்கியமான நோக்கம் என்னன்னு சொல்லி பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் ஒரு கொம்யூனா வாழ்றது, ஒரு தனியா வாழ்றேன், தான் ஆர்ட் ஒர்க் செய்யறேன், அதை விற்கிறேன் கொடுக்குறேன்றதுக்கு அப்பால எதை நான் கலையா பாக்குறேன், அதை எப்படி நான் கொண்டாடுறேன், அதுக்குள்ள வந்து எப்படி ஒரு கொம்யூனை வந்து காட்டுறேன்ன்றது. இதை நான் கோட் பண்ணிக்கிறது நீங்க பார்க்கலாம். What Lucky achieved at Diababula was more than just an aesthetic and environmental trip. He also brought together a group of people who lived and worked with him in what he referred to in the terminology of the 70s as a commune. அதே நேரம் அந்த அவருடைய வாழ்விடத்தை சுற்றி இருக்கிற அந்த இயற்கையோட அந்த பகுதிகளை என்ன மாதிரியான சிற்பங்களை வந்து கொண்டு வந்திருக்கிறாருன்னு சொன்னா ஒரு வகையில என்னது பறவைகள் விலங்குகள் சார்ந்த உருக்கள். ஆனா அது பறவைகள் விலங்குகள் சார்ந்த உருக்களை கொண்டு வந்தாலும் அது ஒரு ரியல்ன்றதுக்கு அப்பால அது வெவ்வேறு அளவுகள்ல வெவ்வேறு விதமான நுட்ப முறைமைகளுக்கூடாக ஒரு வகையான ஒரு அருவத்தனத்தோட வந்து காட்டியிருக்கிறார். இந்த பகுதியில நீங்க பார்க்கலாம் ஒரு வகையான ஒரு என்ட்ரன்ஸ் மாதிரி மேல ஒரு விலங்கு உருவம் என்று படுத்திருக்கிற மாதிரி காட்டப்பட்டிருக்கு. இது ஒரு வகையில என்னது நம்முடைய இலங்கை பண்பாடு பாரம்பரியத்தில் இருக்கிற ஒரு நடைமுறையை வந்து அடையாளப்படுத்துது. உதாரணமாக வந்து தமிழ் கல்ச்சரை பொறுத்த வகையில பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னால் நந்தி வடிவத்தை கொண்டு வந்திருப்பார்கள். அதே மாதிரி யூரோப்பினுடைய பழைய சிவிலைசேஷன்ஸை பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னாலும் லயன் கேட் இந்த மாதிரியான கேட்டுகள் வந்து கொண்டு வரப்பட்டிருக்கு. அதாவது ஒரு வகையில் ஒரு பாரம்பரியம் என்றதை வந்து அதை எப்படி ரீப்ரசன்ட் பண்ணுது என்றதை வந்து இதற்கூடாக பார்க்கக்கூடியதாக இருக்குது. அதே நேரம் பார்க்கலாம் நான் ஏற்கனவே சொன்ன மாதிரி பறவை வடிவங்கள் கழுகு கோழி நீர் யானை பண்டி இந்த மாதிரியான வடிவங்கள். ஆனா அது இவர் இந்த கொண்டு வந்த அந்த உருவத்தை பார்க்கக்குள்ள நமக்கு விளங்குது ஓகே இது வந்து கழுகு இது வந்து கோழி என்று. ஆனா அதுல அந்த டீட்டெயிலான ஒர்க்கள் வந்து ஒரு வகையில நம்ம ட்ரெடிஷனலான ஒப்ஜெக்டை வந்து மேல ஞாபகப்படுத்துது. அதே நேரம் எப்படி ஒரு ஆர்டிஸ்ட இயற்கை மீதான ஒரு அப்சர்வேஷன் அவர் எதை வந்து கலையாக பார்க்கிறாருன்றதையும் வந்து இது மிள ஞாபகப்படுத்துது. இவருடைய இந்த சிற்ப வேலைப்பாடுகளோட நான் இந்தியாவில் இருக்கிற ஒரு கலைஞருடைய வேலையை வந்து ஒப்பிட்டு பார்க்க விரும்புகிறேன். இதுல பார்க்கலாம் ஜாமினி ராய் இவருடைய பிளாக் ஹவுஸ் சரி. ஜாமினி ராய் வந்து இந்தியாவுடைய நவீன கலைஞர் மாடர்ன் ஆர்டிஸ்ட். கலைத்துவத்துக்கு பிறகு எப்படி இந்தியாவில் வந்து ஒரு இந்தியன்னஸ் வந்து தேடுறாங்களோ அதுக்கேற்ற மாதிரி எப்படி கலைஞர்கள் தங்களோட பயிர்வுகளை வந்து மேற்கொள்றாங்களோ ஆகவே ஜாமினி ராய் வந்து இந்தியாவுடைய பாரம்பரிய விடயங்களை வந்து தன்னுடைய கலைப்படைப்புல வந்து உள்வாங்குறார். அதே நேரம் உருவ ரீதியாக நம்ம பார்க்கக்குள்ள இவரோட இந்த சிற்பமும் வந்து ஒரு வகையில பொருத்தி பார்க்கக்கூடியதாக இருக்குது. எப்படி ஒரு விளையாட்டு பொருள்ல ட்ரெடிஷனலா நம்ம பார்க்குற அந்த விளையாட்டு பொருள் மாதிரியான அந்த குதிரை வடிவம் வந்து எப்படி இவர் கொண்டு வந்திருக்கார் அதுல வர அந்த டிசைன்ஸ் இந்த விஷயங்கள் வந்து ஒரு வகையில பாரம்பரியத்தை ஞாபகப்படுத்துது. அதே நேரம் இவர் குறித்தான என்ன சொல்றது இலங்கையை பொறுத்த வகையில ஏனைய கலைஞர்களுடைய சிற்பங்களை விட இவர் வந்து எப்படி இவருக்கான ஒரு தனித்துவமா வந்து இதை கொண்டு வரார் என்றது. அதே போல பார்க்கலாம் ஏற்கனவே சொன்ன சமகால சூழல வந்து இன்ஸ்டாலேஷன் ஆர்ட் கன்செப்சுவல் ஆர்ட்னு சொல்லி ஒவ்வொரு விதமான கலை பயிர்வுகள் வந்து இருக்குதுன்னு சொல்லி அதுக்கு உதாரணமாகத்தான் இந்த கலை படைப்புகளை வந்து நான் போட்டிருக்கிறேன். இதுல நீங்க பார்க்கலாம் ஒரு வகையில சைட் ஸ்பெசிபிக் ஆர்ட்டோட வருகின்ற கலை இதுகளா இருக்க ஒரு பம்கினா இருக்கட்டும் இல்லாட்டி ஸ்பைடராக இருக்கட்டும் இல்லாட்டி தேன்கூடு தலையோடு இருக்கிற மனித உடலா இருக்கும். இது வந்து ஒரு வகையில ஒரு பொது வெளியில வந்து இந்த சிற்பங்களை வந்து காட்சிப்படுத்தியிருக்காரு. ஆனா இந்த சிற்பங்கள் வந்து ஒரு வகையில என்னது ஒரு அளவுல பெரிதாகவும் இது ஒரு பொது வழியில வைக்கிறதாக இருந்தாலும் அதுக்கு பின்னால இருக்கிற மீனிங்ன்றது வந்து ஒரு எப்படி அந்த கலைஞர் வந்து அதை எப்படி மீன் பண்றார் அதே நேரம் வந்து பார்வையாளர்கள் வந்து என்ன மாதிரியான ஒரு அர்த்தங்களை வந்து எடுத்துக்கொள்றாங்க என்றதோட வந்து தொடர்பா இருக்கு. ஆனா அதே நேரம் நம்ம பார்க்கலாம் இவருடைய கலை வெளிப்பாடுகளும் வந்து ஒரு வகையில அவர் வாழ்ற அந்த சூழல்ல அவர் வந்து எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் அந்த இயற்கையை அந்த எப்படியெல்லாம் அந்த இயற்கையை அப்சர்வ் பண்ணாரோ அதுக்கேற்ற மாதிரி அதை வந்து இன்ஸ்டால் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கிறாரு. ஆனா இங்க நம்ம பாக்குற மாதிரி இந்த சமகால கலையில பாக்குற மாதிரியான உள்ளடக்கங்களோ இதுகளோ வந்து இந்த வாசிப்புல வாசிக்கலாமா இல்லையான்றது ஒரு கேள்வியாக இருக்குது. அதே நேரம் கலைஞனுடைய பார்வையை பார்வையின் அதே நேரம் இந்த மாதிரியான சிற்பங்கள் அதனுடைய வழிபாடுகளை வந்து ஒரு வகையில கலைஞனுடைய பார்வையின் நூடாகத்தான் பார்க்கக்கூடியதாக இருக்கு. அதாவது கலைஞன் வந்து எவ்வாறு கலைய பார்க்கிறான் என்றது. அந்த வகையில பார்க்கலாம் லக்கிசேனாயகனுடைய கலைன்றது கூடுதலாக இயற்கையினோடான அவருடைய ஈடுபாடு அது ஒரு வகையில் அவருடைய தனித்துவ சாராம்சத்தை வந்து வெளிப்படுத்துறதாக இருக்குது. ஒரு வகையான ஒரு காட்சி உரையாடலை வந்து வழங்குறதாகவும் வந்து காணப்படுது. அதே நேரம் இது ஒரு வகையில் ஒரு கலைஞனுடைய இயற்கை மீதான ஒரு ஆழமான வெளிப்பாட்டினூடாக உருவான கலை வழிபாடுகளாக வந்து காணப்படுது. நன்றி.
Okay, thank you, Ifat Neeta, for your very interesting presentation. Now the session is open for the questions. So, right. So, may I ask one question? So
Oh,
Neeta,
okay.
may I ask in English or Tamil? Shall I, if the audience... Okay, so
Okay.
since you presented in Tamil, I will ask in Tamil. So Neeta, உங்களோட presentationல lot of things நீங்க discuss பண்ணியிருக்கிறீங்க. மெயினா உங்களோட அழகு கலை aesthetic things. But அவளம் வந்து என்னன்னா ஒரு significant லெவல்ல தொடர்பாகுது எங்கண்ட கட்டடக்கலை மெயினா built environment architecture things. ஓகே, ஸோ அதுல நீங்க இப்ப உங்களோட இந்த கலை சம்பந்தமான விடயங்கள் நீங்க குறிப்பிட்டிருக்கிறீங்க. அதுல இப்ப நான் பார்த்த அளவுல அதுல நிறைய இந்த கிரீனரி எஃபெக்ட்ஸ் அது நிறைய இருக்குது. அது சம்பந்தமா நீங்க எதுவும் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுவீங்களோ உங்களோட ஆய்வுல?
நான் என்ன ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணல. ஆனா இது வந்து ஒரு ஒரு என்ன சொல்ற ஒரு தொடக்கமாகத்தான் நான் இந்த ரிசர்ச்சை பார்க்குறேன். ஆனா இன்னும் நான் ஆழமா செய்ய விரும்புறேன். ஒரு வகையில இந்த ப்ரெசன்டேஷன்ல வர கொஷின்ஸ்கள் வந்து எனக்கு அது கொண்டு போக டெவலப் பண்ண எனக்கு உதவியா இருக்கும். மேபி நான் நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி நான் அதை பார்க்கலாம்.
ஓகே, நான் உங்களுக்கு சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம். என்னண்டா இப்ப உங்களோட ஏரியா வந்து மெயினா ஈஸ்தட்டிக் திங்ஸ்ல நீங்கள் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணிக்கல, இது சஜஷனா எடுங்கோ. என்னண்டா உங்களுக்கு ஆர்கிடெக்சர் சம்பந்தமான விடயங்கள் மற்றது இதுல நிறைய அந்த டெக்னாலஜி பேஸ்ட் திங்ஸ் இருக்குது நிறைய. மற்றது இப்போ நான் ஒரு புக் கொண்டு உங்களுக்கு சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம். கிரீன் பில்டிங் கவுன்சில் ஆஃப் ஸ்ரீலங்காண்டி இருக்குது. கிரீன் பில்டிங் கவுன்சில் ஆஃப் ஸ்ரீலங்கா கொலம்போ விஜயராம மாவட்டம் வித்யா மாவட்டத்தில இருக்குது. அங்க போனீங்க இல்லாட்டி வெப்லயும் நீங்க சர்ச் பண்ணலாம். அதுல கிரீன் பில்டிங் மேனுவல் டூல்ஸ் அண்ட் இருக்குது. கிரீன் அசஸ்மெண்ட் இப்ப எங்கள்ட கட்டக்கலை சம்பந்தமான கட்டிடங்கள் அவற்றின் அதுல இருக்கிற அந்த அந்த கிரீனரி எஃபெக்ட்ஸ் மெயினா அந்த எவ்வளவு ஹெல்த்தியா இருக்குது பில்டிங்ஸ் சம்பந்தமா எப்படி எப்படி அசஸ் பண்ற சம்பந்தமான டூல் இருக்குது. அதுல பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த டூல் புக் எடுத்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த கடைசி சாப்டர் இருக்குது. லாஸ்ட் சாப்டர்ல கல்ச்சரல் அண்ட் ஈஸ்தட்டிக் திங்ஸுக்கு இப்போ ஒவ்வொரு பில்டிங் ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸுக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸையும் நாங்கள் அசஸ் பண்ணிக்கல உங்களோட ஏரியாவுக்கும் இந்த கல்ச்சரல் அண்ட் ஈஸ்தட்டிக் திங்ஸுக்கும் குறிப்பிட்ட அளவு பாயிண்ட்ஸ் இருக்குது. ஆனா அது சம்பந்தமா இப்ப எங்களோட இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில பெரிய ஒரு லேக்கிங் பாயிண்ட் இருக்குது. ஆக்கள் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்றது. அப்ப அதை நீங்கள் ஒருக்கா இப்ப நான் உங்களுக்கு சஜஷனை சொல்றேன். நீங்க ஒருக்கா அதை ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணினா உங்களுக்கு இப்ப ஃபியூச்சர் ரிசர்ச் அதுகளுக்கு உங்களுக்கு பெரிய உதவியா இருக்கும். ஓ மற்றது இப்ப அது சம்பந்தமா நீங்க கிரீன் பில்டிங் கவுன்சில் ஒருக்கா சர்ச் பண்ணுங்க. நீங்கள் மேலதிகமா எதுவும் தேவையண்டா இந்த கான்டாக்ட் நம்பரை நான் உங்களோட சாட் பாக்ஸுக்குள்ள போட்டு விடுறேன். நீங்க கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணலாம். நான் அது சம்பந்தமான டீடைல்ஸ் தரலாம்.
நிச்சயமா. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
இது வந்து உங்களோட அண்டர் கிராட் ரிசர்ச்சோ?
இல்ல நான் அண்டர் கிராஜுவேட் வந்து ஜஃப்னா யூனிவர்சிட்டியில முடிச்சேன். நான் இப்ப சுவாமி விவேகானந்தர்ல வந்து ஒர்க் பண்றேன் லெக்சரரா. அடுத்தது வந்து மாஸ்டர்ஸ் டிகிரி வந்து ரஷ்யாவில் ஸ்டடி பண்ணி கொண்டிருக்கிறேன். இது வந்து இந்த எடிஷனலான ரிசர்ச் தான். சில நேரம் நான் இந்த மாஸ்டர் தீசிஸுக்கு கொண்டு போகலாமா இல்லையான்றது.
இல்ல இது சம்பந்தமா நல்ல ஒரு ரிசர்ச் உங்களோட ஏரியால இத இப்ப நாங்க என்னண்டா ஒரு டெக்னாலஜியோ மற்ற மல்டி டிசிப்ளினரி ஏரியாக்குள்ள கொண்டு வந்தீங்கன்னா நீங்கள் ஈவன் கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ணி கொண்டு போகலாம். இந்த நம்பரை நோட் பண்ணுங்க. ஃபர்தர் திங்ஸ் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணலாம் நாங்கள். ஓகே
ஓகே, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So overall, I will briefly say that even she presented nicely about the aesthetics aspects and those. I just wanted to suggest her to focus more on the greenery areas, especially these are well connected with the built environment in the society. Even I suggested her to find there is a tool, green building assessment tool is there. So within that tool, the last chapter is mainly related to these aesthetics aspects, but in the society or industry sector, even the resources and practices are very, those are lacking in that area in the assessments of the built environment. So then I just suggested her to focus on that. Then she can connect with the technological aspects as well as the architectural things for further research in future. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Neeta. So now we are all the participants, their presentations are over. So thank you for Ms. Lakshani and Iftar to present in the presentations, and for your certificate we can pause. So please send your text or email your postal address, then we can do it on Monday. Thank you for your presenting time.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so much.